I looked up to people like Anthony Kiedis and all the people from the Motley Crue and shit like that, and they were all heroin addicts, and I used to think, I used to really look up to them, and it was almost like I was going to walk down that path no matter what happened.
Hello. I need to start out by saying, what do I call you? Matt 360? Who am I here with today?
So you can call me Matt, or it's 60. All my friends call me Six, or 60.
60, thanks so much for coming on today. For people who maybe aren't familiar with yourself, could you give me just a little introduction to who you are and what you do?
Yep, so my name is 360. I'm a rapper slash sort of singer. Been making music since I was 14 and seriously as a career since probably 23. And yeah, that's about it.
How old are you now?
38.
Yeah, right. So you've been in it for more than half your life.
Yeah, getting on now.
Yeah. Do you feel 38?
Nah,
No.
I feel like a kid.
Yeah.
I still feel like a kid. Like I feel like I only just grew up yesterday, to be honest.
In what way?
Well, a lot of my 20s was spent partying and, you know, not really being that responsible for myself. And I only sort of got on top of that in the last 4 years. So I only feel like I've started to become an adult in my late 30s.
Yeah. But there's no real defining adult. Like you don't ever have to be a full adult though, do you really?
Yeah. Although I do wish that I had been more health conscious before. Because like the quality of life's just so much better.
Yeah.
Like I'm much happier now, just better.
So you said that when you began your career, you started with like underground rap. Can you explain to me, because I'm just curious, what does that mean, like underground rap?
So underground basically means like not commercial, like the opposite of commercial. So very raw, kind of dark. The themes were quite just dark. And that's how I started out. That's the kind of music that I grew up listening to. Like I really loved dark underground hip hop. And then as I grew older, sort of everything started shifting. The more I branched out listening to other music, I wanted to start doing other type of music, like more poppy stuff and going in a more commercial direction. So it was interesting going from one, like pretty much the opposite of what I came from.
How do you find when you're like 14 back in that day, like how did you discover underground rap? Because it was kind of before the internet really blew up, right?
So the way I like fell in love with hip hop was through, well, like I was obsessed with skating, and all my mates, I used to look up to all my mates' older brothers who were like really good skaters, and they all listened to rap. And I just wanted to be like them, and we used to just take their CDs, like listen to Wu-Tang and Big L and stuff like that. And that's how I got into it. And then we just started trying to do it ourselves when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Just messing around, not really taking it seriously or anything like that. And just grew. I kind of developed this obsession with it, like became everything, you know, like I lived and breathed it. All I did at school was like listen to music, write raps and download music. Once like we had laptops at our school where we could like connect to the internet. And I was just downloading rap all the time.
Off like LimeWire or something like that. Yeah.
It was, that's it. And trying to just listen to as much rap as possible.
Yeah.
And never thought it would end up being like a serious career thing, but yeah, it turned out.
That's because you met Pez, right? And that was this, so for anyone who doesn't know, can you explain who Pez is? Yeah,
so Pez is one of my closest friends. We've been probably best friends for a long time. We met playing basketball together. My first dream of what I thought I was going to be doing was basketball. It's like I was going so hard. I wanted to go to college in America, play over there and try and make it to the NBA. Like it was really, really keen. Pez, we played in the same team, and that's how we met, because we both had an interest in rap as well. he wanted to play basketball too, but he had like knee injuries and stuff like that, which prevented him from really going after basketball. And I had issues with my vision, which stopped me being able to really go after that, like my dream for basketball, which was both for us ended up being quite a blessing in disguise, because it made us like, the only thing we really had was music after that. So I never saw it as a career thing. Like I always thought it was just a hobby, you know? And he was like, has had this like crazy belief back in the day. It was like this confidence that was infectious. And he was like, dude, like, why should we work a job that we don't like doing? I was doing an apprenticeship as a carpenter. I was hating it. And he was like, why are we doing this? Why don't we just make music and become the biggest rappers in the country and just live off music? And I was like, can you even do that? Like, I didn't even think that was an option, but he was like, nah, let's do it. He was really obsessed with people like Jay-Z at the time, very like people who would just chase their dreams and made it happen. And the power of the mind and belief.
Absolutely.
And all that. And he was really big on that. And he sort of, once he started talking that way, I was just like, it kind of opened my mind to it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And then I quit pretty much the next day. I quit by text my boss saying, look, I don't think this is for me. And then we just started writing raps, living off Centrelink.
Yeah, I was about to ask how you kind of funded the whole thing.
Yeah, Centrelink pretty much funded my first album.
How good's that?
They should add a little sticker on there like it was on a Centrelink label or something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. They should.
But yeah, it was him. It was him that gave me that belief and opened my mind to the fact that, you know, we can turn it into a career. And yeah, and then that's what we did.
Yeah, and here you are.
Yeah.
Like how many years later down the track? That's pretty amazing.
It's incredible.
So when writing a song, the structure of the song, I don't know if this is like an ignorant question, but when I look at bands who write music, they write verse, chorus, bridge. Is it similar for yourself when creating a song?
Yeah, so like as far as the structure goes, like for the end product, you definitely want that. But when I'm writing the song, it starts with the chorus usually. It starts with the beat. You feel the vibe of what you want to write about, and then once you get the chorus down, you know where you're going to take it. But I feel like some of my favorite songs where I haven't followed a formula like that though. Like it can get a bit repetitive when you do like, all right, let's have 3 verses, choruses, and a bridge. And every single song ends up being like that. It's a good way to write music because it works, but there's been like a few songs where I've just done like one huge verse where I tell a story or something like that, and then a little bit of a melody at the end, and it's not a formula or anything like that. And sometimes that works as well. Like it just depends on the vibe of the song.
Yeah, totally.
When it's something really personal and deep, I think the longer the verses, the better. When it's something that's more of a poppy kind of jam that's like for radio or something like that, the shorter verses where it gets to the chorus quick is the best way. When
you have ideas, do you ever sit in your car and just start rapping? How is that something you do? Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Always thinking of lyrics and stuff like that, but it can come at random times. But if I've got, if I've got a whole bunch of new beats that I need to write to, I like driving around, like thrashing the beats really loud and just freestyling, like just whatever comes to my head. Yeah. But it's not really saying lyrics. It's just like gibberish, saying like flows and stuff like that, like how I would want the flow to sound. That's almost my favorite part of writing a song, is when you do that bit where you're not really saying anything, but you get an idea of how you want it to sound. So your early rap battle with Cursor, you've said yourself kind of launched your career. Do you agree with that? Yeah, so I think battles in general really helped launch my career, but that one was the biggest one. Yeah. And it was really, the timing of that one was right before I think
right when I was releasing songs off Falling and Flying.
Yeah.
And then we did that battle, which was the biggest Australian battle of all time. And that
it got to on YouTube. It had, I can't remember what it said, but it was something like the most streamed YouTube video in Australia, maybe, or as well.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it couldn't have worked better timing wise.
Do you think battles like that? I mean, do you know and do you think battles like that exist today?
They definitely do. Like, there's a huge battle rap culture in overseas, in like America and the UK and Toronto, Canada and shit. In Australia, it's kind of died off a little bit now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there is still a lot of really, really good battle rappers in Australia that are still around, and I think it's gonna come back again. Like, I plan to do it again.
You do, yeah.
Definitely. Like, at the moment, I'm working on an album, and that's sort of the priority. But once the album's done, me and my friend Jay Legend, he's another battle rapper, probably one of the best in Australia. We've been talking about jumping in and doing a 2-on-2, like with another.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it'll be fun.
How do people find out about that? Like, how to go to something like that?
Well, when it gets put together, it'll just be like any other event, I guess. We'll start promoting it online.
Okay, so you do promote it and things like that,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. There'll be heaps of promo for it.
Yeah.
It'll be one of those things, I imagine, where people can probably pay to watch it live as well, like stream it.
That's so cool.
And there'll be tickets to come to it as well.
Yeah, so sick. I rewatched it yesterday, I think, and I was noticing, like, in the battle itself, a lot of the language that both people are using probably wouldn't, I don't know if it wouldn't be used today, but it was, I remember seeing it as a kid, and I don't think, it's around the same time as like 8 Mile and all of that sort of came out, and you don't really think about it, and then rewatching it back, I was kind of taken back a little bit by the language. Do you think, and it's, a different time as well, but do you think that the language would be used in that way today? It wouldn't?
Not a lot of it. Not like the F, constantly, like the constantly, that's just changed. Times have just changed,
Do you think that affects people's artwork, like art? It would affect the art form, right? When creating music and... Yeah,
people like these days a lot more touchy when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, if people are going to outright say those words these days, they'll cop hell for it.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess it's up to the person if they want to say it or not, but it's just got to deal with what comes with it.
It also made me wonder whether in that space there was ever, like, if it was a bit of toxic masculinity in that space as well, and if you've noticed that, do you agree with that, or was it a bit toxic at that time, or?
I think when you come from that, like, from that world in battle rap, you're trying to say the most offensive thing. Like, there's so many lines that you cross, you know what I mean? I think you could argue that the whole thing's toxic if you really break it down. I think these days people play it a lot more different. It's not just outright, but there's still a lot of lines that get crossed at the same time. But if you can say things in a creative way, it's about being creative, and being funny with it. You can still say really offensive stuff, but if you do it in a funny way, then you can get away with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just being flat out, just like,
you can say
just saying the most offensive shit just because it's offensive.
And then I mean, it is kind of cool that you do have to think outside the box a little bit more.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And I think, like, back then, there's not really in Australia, but there's gay battle rappers now overseas. There's even a trans battle rapper now. So it'd be interesting to see how that would go in Australia.
I'd be really interested to see how it would go in Australia.
Yeah, it was like back then as well. It was heavy on the shock value factor of saying shit that's like outlandish. Like, I remember I battled someone, and like, I was talking about his daughter in really offensive ways, like nothing too bad, but just like saying that it wasn't his daughter, and just really, really offensive, crossing a line. But you don't mean any of it. Like, it's like when you step in the ring, it's like you're accepting that you're going to cop some really harsh stuff. So
you've just got to be able to handle it.
And then you are mates with the people that you're like battling afterwards as well?
Sometimes, yes, but sometimes there's that tension that's like, it's real, like there's actual, you know, you don't like one another, so you are trying to
quite scary.
bury one another lyrically,
Yeah.
you know. There's because there's been a few battles where there's been punch-ons and like it's really heated, you know. People actually hate one another.
Oh my God.
And they try and settle it through rap battles, and the tension gets so much, end up, you know, headbutting and then just all out brawls and shit.
Is there like security on site and stuff? No.
Not usually, no. I mean, at the venue, they'd have their venue security, but they wouldn't be just standing there ready. I think if it was, depends who the people are. If it was like people that were known to be quite physically rowdy, then they'd probably have security just standing there waiting.
Do you feel intimidated ever when you do it, or is like?
I feel super intimidated, but it's more about the crowd. Like it's like you're surrounded by all these people. Like I can get up on stage and I don't really get that nervous. I feel kind of pumped to get up there. But when I'm in a rap battle, I get so anxious and nervous, but it's because I'm surrounded by all these people and I don't want to fuck up my words. And when I went to Canada for the World Rap Championships, it was World Domination. I was really messed up on drugs and shit, and went over there and humiliated myself because I've completely blanked. I like had that 8 Mile moment where, you know, you just didn't have anything to say, and it was really embarrassing. It was actually traumatic. Like I still think about that shit today. Like that was like fucking embarrassing, and ever since then, it was like, all right, I'm never going to do that again. I mean, never going to let myself mess up like that. So it's all about coming prepared.
100%.
I think a lot of people think rap battles are freestyled, where it's like you're making it up on the spot. But where rap battles are these days, it's not like that at all. You know who your opponent is about probably months in advance. It's like a boxing match. But with words. So you prepare for them, and you come with 3 verses ready for them. You try and think what they're going to say to you, so that you can flip it on them. And if you're someone who can get in there and do that, but then also go off the cuff of something they've said and flip it back on them, then you're kind of in the elite levels of it, because not many battle rappers do that these days. It's just all written.
Oh wow, so interesting, such a different world. You just touched on it before, but I just wanted to ask about that period in your life where you were kind of on drugs a lot and in that addictive. Just for people listening who maybe aren't familiar, can you just in your own words describe like a summary of that time of your life?
Yeah, so I started using drugs quite late in life compared to a lot of people. Like I was, you know, we'd just go out on the weekends and smash pills and ecstasy and stuff like that. It was just fun. Then that sort of upgraded into cocaine and speed and shit like that. And it was just like, you know, on the weekends we'd go out and have fun time. Then during the week we'd just be normal. And then that was going on for a few years, and then music started popping off. And it's like, you come into all this money and it's like, well, why stop? You know, we don't really need to stop. So let's just keep going. And so we'd go have the big weekends, the big benders, and I really struggled with the come down the next day, or when the party stopped after days of party. So I would go and start taking painkillers and benzos and shit like that, which would really calm me down and just pretty much take that come down away. So it was like going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then it just got to a point where it was just out of control. Like I didn't even realize it was getting out of control. It was just something we were doing. And then suddenly you're addicted, you know, you try to stop. You're like, all right, I should probably have a break now. And you go through crazy withdrawals, and you realize you're an addict, and you've crossed the line that you can't ever come back from. And it's not something you actually realize is possible.
Yeah,
like I remember people warning us back in the day about drugs and all that. So you don't understand it. You don't understand what they're talking about. But it's like,
when you're dabbling with drink, it doesn't matter what it is, like drinking, gambling, it can be anything. If you're just dabbling in it every now and then, what you're doing is it's like a little caged monster inside you that is just slowly getting stronger and stronger the more you do it. And then you reach a point where you do it that much that you open the cage and the monster's out of its cage, and that's when you're an addict from then on. And you can't ever come back from that. You're always going to have that little voice inside you that's like, anytime something goes wrong, it's like, well, this could fix that feeling. Like if you're feeling shit right now, that is a fix for it. And that's, it's something you've got to cop on the chin because you've done it to yourself.
So you still get those feelings now, really, when something's stressful? Or
not as bad.
Yeah.
Once you realise how good feeling healthy is, like that becomes an addiction.
Yeah.
So like going to the gym, eating right, and I've pretty much, addiction is like exercise is like an addiction for me now. That's the best way to get rid of any bad feelings for me. But there's moments where you feel that crap that you just like it pops in your head. But I guess the more time you've spent dealing with it, you learn how to silence it.
Do you see the correlation between getting more famous in the industry and the addiction? Because you see it so happen to so many people who do kind of get to fame and then they do turn to whatever their vice is. Do you agree that there's a correlation between the two?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I think in the music industry as well, it's so common. Like people don't understand. Like we'll go into like the ARIA awards and shit, and there's like, I won't name them, but like people you would never expect are in there doing coke and shit. Like everyone's doing it pretty much, and you're just like, holy shit. Like I remember when I was coming up with music, like I sort of romanticized the idea of being an addict. Like I looked up to people like Anthony Kiedis and all the people from the Motley Crue and shit like that, and they were all heroin addicts, and I used to think, I used to really look up to them, and it was almost like I was going to walk down that path no matter what happened.
That's
and especially once music happened, it was like I wanted to be that kind of rock star.
Yeah. There was like a romantic sort of side to it in that way. Yeah.
It was like, oh, cool, I'm killing it with music now. I've got all this money. I can actually be that rock star I've always wanted to be and live that life. And it was really fun. Like for years, it was fun as fuck. It was having a ball, like doing the whole big day out tour without any sleep and shit, and just after every show, just smashing it. I remember I hadn't slept the entire tour. And then after each set, my manager would come back in and go, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Yeah, really.
You're smashing it, like you're killing it. And I was like, well, let's keep going then.
Interesting. That was going to be one of my questions, was the team behind you, because I think you see like Amy Winehouse, even the Beach Boys, things like that. The team behind them want to keep them going, whether it be for money or like promises that they've made or whatever. So I was curious as to whether that...
To be fair to them, they weren't aware of how bad it had gotten behind the scenes. Like they knew that I was a big party head and I love going on benders and stuff, but they didn't see when I was having come downs that I was going to painkillers and codeine and shit like that. And they didn't see all that. So there was a little bit of an enabling going on, but they didn't know the extent.
Like the whole scope of what was happening. Yeah. I was also wondering whether if you're in a band, right, you've got your band members with you and stuff, do you think that being a solo artist, it was harder, or that you didn't have people kind of checking you or anything like that? Like, do you think if maybe you had a band?
Because even though I'm solo, right, I still had a hype man, still have like a sound guy that we were touring with and a DJ. So it's sort of like having a little band. And I did have Joel Charmer. He was my hype man, and he saw, like, me and him were really close, and we would party all the time, but he knew what I was doing behind the scenes, and he was always like, come on. Like he was the one person that was trying to get me to stop.
Yeah.
He was seeing how bad I was. And he was one person that was like, you got to stop this shit. He was one of the only ones.
Interesting. Do you are you still in touch with him?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you're now on your Back to Life tour.
Yep.
Is it 6 years since your last release? Is that correct?
Yeah, 6 or 7 years.
Yes, since your last. And how long since your last tour?
So probably around the same time, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was the last tour I did before the big hiatus was the album tour. And then I just went into this crazy dark place for ages. You know, I was on methadone to help with opiate addiction, and I just let myself go. It was a big, sloppy, depressed, just mess. Yeah. And 4 years ago in 2020, I was like, I got to sort this shit out. So I went to rehab and for 4 months while it was actually during the start of COVID. Went to rehab for 4 months, got off the methadone and got off clonazepam, which is like this hardcore sleeping pill. And then since then, it's just been all about, you know, building myself back up and coming back to life, like trying to get my career back on track, you know, like with my second album, with Falling and Flying, my life had been launched into this like place I never thought I could ever do. I always wished I could, and I had always had these massive goals of becoming this huge successful artist. And then I got there, and it was incredible, but the drugs, you know, fucked it up. I fucked it up, not the drugs. I fucked up. And then I thought I had messed up my career entirely. So it was like I had to almost prove it to myself. I can bring this back. I'm not done, you know, I'm not finished just because I've messed up.
Well, you made a mistake. That doesn't mean that you can't come back from that or have a second chance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about bouncing back and showing that you can bounce back from it. And that's the big element of it, is to try and show that, you know, you can come back from shit like this.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you finding the response being back?
The first tour was very hard.
Yeah.
The response was awesome. Like, I was very surprised. I didn't think it was going to, you know, get the support that it did. I just thought I'd cooked it. I thought I'd really thrown my whole career away, and but the support has been really good. But the nerves, like after 6 years of not touring, were really, really bad, like crippling almost, you know, like before each show I'd just get so anxious that I was like, I don't think I can do this. You know, first tour back, I was like, this is not worth it, because of just the anxiety and stuff. Like, all I could think about was, if I could just have 3 drinks, like 3 shots, this would calm my nerves and I'd go out there and kill it. Like, I'll be able to, you know, keep a handle on it. I won't fall back into bad routines and shit. I knew I couldn't do it, but that's just what was going through my head. And it was like, if I keep doing this, maybe I'll probably end up getting back on it or something. But luckily I did that tour and I got to work with my life coach, you know, really unpacking a lot of shit and just bettering myself, and getting more fit, and, you know, getting myself to a place where it's like, I don't need that, you know, I can do it without it. Yeah. And then when we started the regional tour, part 1 of the regional tour, everything had, I guess the nerves subsided. I felt more excited than before, and it's like, okay, maybe I just had cobwebs or something to just shake off, and I feel a lot better now. Do
you feel proud of yourself?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely very proud of myself, but I still feel I'm just very driven at the moment to keep it going. Like, I want to keep the trajectory going upwards. I just don't want to stop.
Yeah, I mean, you should be proud of yourself. Like, I don't know what it's like to be in that position, but from the sounds of everything you've told me and from what I've heard already, it's really incredible. Especially even saying, like, to have the anxiety of going back on stage and even putting yourself out there to say, like, I made a mistake, and for other people to see that and to, I don't know, I bet you that there's people like in the crowds or listening to your music who can absolutely relate to that. And I think you should be really proud of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think, you know,
showing that element of just being human
Yeah.
and not being a superhuman. Like, you make mistakes, you're flawed. I think and showing that sort of vulnerability has been the one thing that's really, I think, grown me a massive fan base that really, really love my shit because they connect with it so much. And a lot of the people, like, you should hear some of the stuff these people go through that they tell me about it, and they say that my music has helped them get through it. It's like, it's really amazing and touching.
Yeah, it's incredible. I saw on your Instagram you posted recently a blueprint to, what was it? Sorry,
Get out of rock bottom?
Yeah, the blueprint to getting out of rock bottom. Did you write those words? I was curious, there was one that you spoke about finding like your own version of God or your own version of spirituality and like what that looks like for yourself.
Yeah. So when I was young, I used to pray. I used to believe in a God. I wasn't like religious or anything like that, but I always used to feel this connection to something. I always had this unwavering faith that everything was going to be okay. This is when I was in like primary school. And I can remember that. And I can remember I felt like there was a connection to some sort of presence there. And just recently, like with my coach, he was like, I was talking to him about it, and he was like, I encourage you to start doing that again, start praying again, develop a relationship with that presence like it's a friend, you know, like talk to it all the time. And I do that pretty much every night. I do it every like about half an hour before I get on stage, I pray. And it's incredible. It's been, one of the best things for me. Like, I'm still unsure where I fit in the scheme of like theology and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, who are you praying to? Is it just like maybe just sending it out to the universe, really, or is it?
Well, I think I want to explore like where I fit in it all. It's all so complicated though. Like, but like I believe God. Like when people talk about God, I think people think of like, you know, a man in the sky who judges you and stuff like that. I think God is everything. Like God is just everywhere. Just life itself. I think you're talking to life itself. I think there's something has created us and what we are. And you're just talking to it, you know?
Yeah.
And it is confusing because like I want to know I'd love to know if like religions are if they're on the mark, if they're right, if I like actually do fit in somewhere, but I just don't know how to go about it yet.
Yeah.
At the moment, it feels kind of like I don't want to really complicate it that much. I feel it's quite simple. Just I'm talking to God, as far as I understand it. I've got a very deep relationship and have this really unwavering faith again, like I did when I was a kid. It feels the same sort of way. I feel like everything that happens in my life at the moment is God giving me stuff to figure out. Like, it won't give me anything that I can't handle, and it's a way to improve myself. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, sometimes you don't really need the answer though either, do you? It's just like if it works, it works.
Yeah, that's it.
So I've got a bowl of fortune cookies here, and these are just questions that viewers have submitted, and they're very just generic, fun questions, and go for gold.
Okay. What is a song by another artist band that you wish you had written? Probably Stand by Eminem. I'm Only Sleeping by the Beatles.
Oh, really? That's an interesting, I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, I love that song. I don't know why, but there's something about that song that just picks me up.
Yeah, right.
Whenever I listen to it. Such a good song. Time by Hans Zimmer. Even though I don't do production, that is probably, if I could, that's the type of music I would make.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Those are not what I was expecting as your answer. That's really cool. That's really cool. Do you listen to Hans Zimmer? Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
One of my most listened to artists.
Really?
Yeah. It's like him, there's another guy called Max Richter, and it's always like from movie scores.
Yeah.
Every single night I lie for about an hour listening to like powerful songs like Time by Hans Zimmer and stuff like that, and just visualize where I want my life to go.
Yeah.
You just picture like all this crazy shit, and it just feels, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm on drugs.
Yeah.
And yeah, try and make that happen, you know? So I like picture all this stuff I want to do. All right, that's what I'm going to aim for. And the songs make me feel like it's actually happening. And then I spend my days trying to make that happen.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for coming on today and spending the time. I know you've got a show tonight, so we'll let you get out of here, but really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Appreciate
of course. Cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Go.